This is a story that didn't have to exist. If someone at the White House, anyone, would have taken responsibility just this once, this wouldn't have even been a 12-hour news cycle. A sloppy post, a quick apology, everyone moves on. But instead, here we are. Not because of a meme, not even because of racism, but because President Trump has a reflex that he doesn't know how to turn off. He never backs down. Now, when it comes to campaigning and elections, that's a great quality to have. You want a fighter. Heck, when it comes to getting stuff done in Washington, D.C., moving legislation through the swamp, you want someone who doesn't back down. But that does have its downsides, and in situations like this, it can turn minor issues into a controversy the entire world is talking about. Now, whether or not President Trump posted this, or if it was a staffer, all of that doesn't matter, because at the presidential level, intent doesn't negate responsibility, and system failures are still failures. So the question isn't whether Democrats are overreacting, because let's be honest, they always are. The question is why President Trump is giving oxygen to news stories like this instead of focusing on his actual accomplishments. So to do that, we actually have to go back to the beginning and understand exactly what happened. So this is the post that Trump posted on Truth Social. So you will notice there is nothing about the Obamas here because his post is actually about election integrity. And this all makes sense because the FBI recently went down to Fulton County. They got all the evidence in regards to the 2020 election. So Trump is talking about election fraud. And you can see here they're going through the tapes and he's talking about these swing states that were controversial in 2020, whether it was Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and how all of this doesn't make sense. Well, it turns out that this post was actually a screen recording. He wasn't actually, reposting something. They recorded it on the phone, whoever it was, and look, it went on to another reel, and that's how you got the Obama apes clip. Now, when the White House was asked to respond to this, Caroline Leavitt explained, "This is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public." What's really interesting about this is that there was no denial that this post came from President Trump. So the defense here from the White House initially was, this isn't a big deal because it's actually a parody of The Lion King. And this is the full video, again, that President Trump didn't create. It was just a reel that auto-scrolled to the next one. So you'll notice at the very beginning it does have the Obamas as apes, which looks bad on the surface because obviously it taps into those racist tropes, but as the video keeps going you realize it's making fun of all Democrats and comparing them to animals of the jungle. Here you have Adam Schiff, right? Pencil neck Adam Schiff. People make fun of his long neck and they have him as a giraffe, even making fun of Obama and Kamala Harris. And by the way, it's not just limited to Democrat politicians. Democrat influencers such as Julia Oliviana, who is medically obese, is featured here as a pig. You have Harry Sisson, who people say is very flamboyant. He's featured as a flamingo. So it's just making fun of Democrats as a whole while it compares President Trump to the king of the jungle from The Lion King. President Trump is on top, and at the very end, it has all these characters bowing down to him because he is the Lion King. So that is the meme. And again, President Trump did not create that. It was a meme that just auto-scrolled because for whatever reason, they didn't repost another social media post. They did a screen recording, which to me hints it was probably done by a boomer or someone not very good with technology, and it auto-scrolled to the next one, and they were still recording it, and for whatever reason, they didn't edit that part out before they posted it. So let's dive a little deeper into the timeline here. This post was originally posted on Truth Social late Thursday evening. It became controversial overnight, so that when everyone woke up Friday morning, it was wall-to-wall coverage everywhere. It was trending pretty much on every single social media platform. Caroline Leavitt puts out that statement at 8:58 a.m. Eastern time, so very early in the day. And again, she does not deny that it was President Trump who posted it. She just says, hey, this is no big deal because it is a parody of The Lion King. And she also doesn't explain that it was a reel auto-scrolling to the next reel because this was a screen recording rather than an actual repost. Well, exactly 3 hours later, at 11:58 a.m., the White House decided to change its tune, or, depending on how you view it, add clarification. According to The Guardian, Trump shifts blame to aid as he refuses to apologize for racist video of Obama's. Well, as you can imagine, that made things even worse because Democrats started pointing out, hey, Trump, you've actually used this explanation multiple times. Do you just not fix these issues, or is this just your go-to excuse? Take a look. This is from 2015, and it's one of the clips going viral on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, etc.
Say that an intern actually is the one who retweeted it. Someone who claims to be a college student who works at your campaign headquarters said interns don't have access to your Twitter account. So did you send it, or did an intern send it?
I have 5 people, and they're very smart people. And it was actually a little bit of a joke. The person thought it was funny, and essentially saying that anybody that votes for Carson has to have a problem with their brain. That's what they said. They thought it was cute. I didn't think it was cute, and I took it off. It wasn't a big deal. Frankly, I probably would have been better off just leaving it there, but I didn't like it. I do my own, and just so you understand, I do my own tweets, 90%. But I have people, because I'm doing a lot of other things, I have people, Matt, that do things for me.
But it would surprise.
So as you can imagine, the resurfacing of that clip made things worse for President Trump. Now, him saying that he did 90% of his tweets 10 years ago doesn't mean that he's doing 90% of his tweets today. But we do know, and based on the White House's defense of this post, that President Trump does view the tweets. He does review them before they go out. And oftentimes, if he's not personally typing them on his phone, he is dictating them. So they are still his words, even if it's not his fingers personally putting it out there onto the internet. Now, before we dissect what exactly went wrong and go through how this can be prevented in the future, this is President Trump's latest response to all of this. He was on Air Force One last night. The press gaggle was there, and they were asking questions. And as he usually does, he was very open, very transparent, and here are just a few of his quotes.
President, a number of Republicans are calling on you to apologize for that post. Is that something you're going to do?
No, I didn't make a mistake. I mean, I look at a lot of thousands of things. I looked at the beginning of it. It was fine. They had that one. But I spoke to Tim Scott. He was great. Tim is a great guy. He understood that 100%. Go ahead.
Please, do you condemn the racist parts of the video?
Of course I do. Yeah.
Of course he does. So there's not even a story here. And that goes back to my whole point of this video, is that this is the controversy. This is the story that didn't need to be a story. Had they acknowledged it, had they apologized, I think everyone would have moved on. It would have sucked oxygen out of the room. Yes, Democrats are going to freak out. Yes, they're going to complain. They always do. But the shifting tactics, oh, it was the Lion King. Oh, no, it was a staffer. All it does is it gives more ammunition for the Democrats to say, hey, there's a cover-up going on here. Oh, hey, this is a dog whistle Trump is trying to send. It just gives them more things to complain about because there was an obvious off-ramp here. Just acknowledge it, apologize, move on. But instead, each of these things isn't actually a defense. It just extends the story and turns it into this long news cycle. And I'm not saying any of this to bash President Trump. What I am going to acknowledge is that every leader, because no one is perfect, all of humanity is flawed, especially if you're a Christian, you believe that, right? And so if everyone is flawed, that means that every leader, no matter how great, how strong, how wise, how successful they are, they all have one or two issues that really bring them down. And to me, for President Trump, that's pride. You can like what he does politically. You can agree with his policies. You can like his rhetoric. But when it comes to issues like this, I think it's pride that allows the media to distract from what are very real accomplishments, whether it's his accomplishments on the border, accomplishments with the economy, accomplishments with slowing down inflation. There's so much we could be talking about right now, but instead, for the last 24, 48 hours, we're really talking about an AI meme. This is what it's all come down to. And look, even if it is true that it was a staffer who posted this, that to me makes things even worse because it shows that there are systemic failures within the communications department of the White House, because this has happened time and time again. So forget about this. Forget about the AI ape meme. Let's imagine instead that this was a staffer and they wanted to own the libs. Maybe there was a private email correspondence between the Trump White House and the Clintons. So to own the Clintons and to expose them for lying, this staffer or whoever it was did the same thing. It's a screen recording and they're swiping on their phone, they're recording emails from the Clintons, and at the very end, they accidentally swipe too far. They swipe to a confidential document, and they're like, oops, swipe too far, we're gonna go back. And let's say, same thing here, they didn't edit that out from the video, and they post that on Truth Social. Well, now, for the entire world to see, you have confidential information out there. That is a threat. That is a danger to national security. We're lucky that this was just a meme, that it wasn't something confidential, that it wasn't something that could ruin a relationship, not just here at home, but with foreign dignitaries, with foreign leadership. And so that's why I think the staffer excuse actually makes things worse, because is there no process here? Does Caroline Leavitt not sign off? Is it just one person who can make a mistake? There are no guardrails to make sure that, hey, communications is tight? Because again, when you are working at the highest level of government in the most powerful country in the world, responsibility is greater than intent. You might not have intended for this to happen, but you have to take a look at what actually happens. You have to take a look at what actually goes out there. And this, again, is not to criticize the Trump administration, but to say, hey, we can, even as supporters, say we want better from our leaders. Now, just because I said all of that, it does not absolve the Democrats for their pitiful behavior throughout all of this. Not only is their behavior ironic, it is hypocritical to the extreme. I mean, did they forget that this happened? Bill Maher comparing President Trump to an orangutan and saying that President Trump should show his birth certificate to prove that he wasn't born from an orangutan. By the way, NBC reported Donald Trump sues Bill Maher for $5 million over orangutan joke. What about all the racist statements made by Democrats, basically stating that, you know, black people are too dumb to use the internet, too dumb to use computers. They're not smart enough to get an ID. That's why they can't vote. What about this statement from Joe Biden? I mean, you've got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook man, Biden said, and obviously he was referring to Barack Obama. To me, that's much more racist than this AI meme comparing President Trump to King of the Jungle. Now, the reason this meme went viral and those did not, or especially Joe Biden's statement, is because this meme is visual. It was made for social media. You take a look at it, you don't even have to watch the whole thing before, you know, if you're an overly sensitive liberal, you get outraged, right? It's just like, oh, it's an image, it hits you right away, versus statements from Democrats, statements from Joe Biden. You actually have to use your brain cells. You have to think about the implications. You have to think about what they're actually saying and what's in between those lines. And so to me, that really showcases the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party and how they use the character flaw that President Trump has, which again, in my opinion, is pride. They use it against him to divide the country, to attack the administration, and to distract from the task at hand, which is improving life for all Americans. Now, before we close out this video, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are Bama Queens, 777, Super Roamer, and Lizzie Tom. These are people who give tips and super things to the channel. I'm glad that you enjoy and I'm glad that you're here. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So what do you think? Did I miss the big picture in all of this? Or do you think that I got some of it right, all of it right? Like, what are your thoughts on everything going on? To me, it's just another nonsense controversy. And it's just sad because it didn't have to be this way. I think it was preventable. I think there were multiple off-ramps. I think that the missteps in the response gave oxygen to this story that, quite frankly, should have died out, or as some people would maybe argue, shouldn't have even happened in the first place. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.